Hi there, welcome to kneppyinvests. In this Appendix 4C June quarter video, I am going to look at a company that my opinion on this company has rapidly evolved over the past year. In fact, when I looked at this company, which is Betmakers, about a year ago, I came away not exactly unimpressed, but unwilling to take a position in the company because I thought they were overhyped and overvalued at that point in time. But I continued on my research journey into Betmakers, and every single time I delved a little bit deeper into what this company does, I came away more and more impressed each and every time. So in this video, I'm going to take a look at what this company does very quickly. In fact, what they do is a lot more involved with what I'll talk about. Have a look at some facts in regards to the company, and then have a look at their Appendix 4C for both the March and June quarters, and then have a look at the cash receipts growth over the past few years. And it's a very impressive growth when it comes to the receipts or revenue. And then finally, we'll look at the chart and talk about why we did see the share price under a little bit of pressure over the past few months, but the share price has recovered quite quickly in the past few weeks. Betmakers provide data and analytics for the business-to-business wagering market. They do a lot more than that. In fact, I do recommend going to their website or just reading some of the presentations because they have a lot going on right now. The ticker code for Betmakers is, naturally enough, BET. Market cap with the share price of $1.13 is $970 million. And I would probably say when you see a market cap approaching $1 billion, make sure there could be some value there, or the company is growing really strongly. So either there must be some value there for Betmakers, or the company's receipts and revenue must be growing very strongly. And when we look at the price to sales ratio of 44, that instantly tells me there is probably not value here. So we need to see some significant growth when it comes to the receipts, and not necessarily the operational cash flow, but definitely the receipts need to be growing really strongly. If you do want more information on Betmakers, have a look at their Appendix 4C, which they released on the 26th of July. But I do recommend going to the website or looking at some presentations they released over the past year to get a better handle of all the things this company is doing right now. Before we have a look at the June quarter results for Betmakers, just want to go back to the March quarter to see how the company was progressing at that point. And then once we go to the June quarter, we can see how the company has performed over the past 3 months and to see if the company is experiencing some rapid growth in their operations. Receipts to customers for the March quarter, 5.2 million. And when you compare that to the 9 months to date at that point, which was only 13 million, right there you can see the company is experiencing some significant growth in their receipts. And the other thing I took away from March quarter were they were only operational cash flow negative by 424,000, which is not a lot. And the second thing I took away from the March quarter Appendix 4C is the amount of cash Betmakers have on hand at the end of the quarter, 125.8 million. They did a capital raising to raise that cash. And what that tells me right away with $125.8 million of cash is management have a lot of flexibility moving forward. They can do a lot of stuff with that cash, and hopefully if management have the interests of the company and the shareholders in high priority, they will try to do things to increase the value of this company. So growth initiatives, maybe some acquisitions, research and development to move this company forward during the next 5 years. So hopefully, and more than likely they are, that's where the priorities of Betmakers management are right now with that amount of cash on hand. On to the June quarter results, and this company is expanding quite quickly when you compare the receipts from customers for this quarter and then for the last quarter, and then looking at the 9 months to date. Receipts and customers approaching $9 million for the June quarter, and for the 12 months to date or financial year 21, only 22 million. So receipts from customers are growing at a massive rate, and if they can continue this momentum forward, receipts and customers or revenue for financial year 22 is potentially going to be almost double the numbers we saw for financial year 21. That's a giant leap forward, but if they can continue that momentum going, that's definitely in the pipelines for this company. But more importantly for Betmakers is they were operational cash flow positive by $648,000. And this is a very important inflection point for a company. And that means moving forward, if they can continue being operational cash flow positive, is they can use their money they generate in their operations for growth initiatives like acquisitions or research and development. They did burn through $5 million of cash for the quarter for financing and investing activities, acquisitions, that sort of thing. But still, $120.6 million of cash at the end of the quarter means they retain that flexibility moving forward to grow this company for the long term. If you follow my Appendix 4C videos over the past year or so, you'll know that one of the things I really like to look at is receipts, cash receipts from customers, or receipts history through time. And when a company provides this information for us, is something that really impresses me because it tells me that the priorities of the management align with my own priorities when I judge the performance of the company. The very fact that Betmakers provided this table, which is almost identical to what I look at and have to almost do for every single company because no other companies does this sort of thing, impresses me to no end. So instead of dwelling on this chart that the company provided in their activities report, I'll just show you what I did and see how similar it is to what the company did. One little difference between what the company provided us and what I usually do is the company only gave us 2 years of cash receipts. I like to look at all the cash receipts history for a company. And we do have information going back to December quarter 2018 for Betmakers. And for the next 2 years, cash receipts really didn't grow. It's only been the last 5 quarters where we've seen cash receipts explode for Betmakers. In fact, if we calculate the growth rate in receipts since the June quarter 2020, it's been growing at 39% per quarter. It even looks like it's potentially growing exponentially, particularly because receipts grew from 5.2 million to 8.9 million in the last quarter. It's going to be very interesting to see if September quarter receipts can continue that sort of exponential growth, which would mean we'd need a number of receipts approaching 13 million. So that's probably the main thing I'll be looking for in the September quarter for Betmakers. The other thing I'd be looking for is if they can continue being operational cash flow positive. And if they can achieve those two things, a valuation of about $1 billion for Betmakers would be possibly undervalued for this company moving forward. As we look at the daily chart for Betmakers, going back to just prior to the COVID-19 financial panic when the share price fell all the way down to 7 cents, the recovery in Betmakers' share price has been phenomenal. In fact, it's increased from 7 cents at that low to a high of $1.60 towards the end of May this year. And just after the share price got to the high of $1.60, Betmakers released an announcement that they were acquiring some Tabcorp assets. And the market didn't like that news, and we saw 2 massive down days. In fact, the share price went from about $1.60 all the way down to about $1.13 or $1.15. So that's a massive drop in share price in 2 trading days. And that was a definite shift in sentiment on this news. And that's the reason why the share price kept on falling all the way down to a low of about 85 cents in the middle of July. But since that low of 85 cents in the middle of July, we've seen some good news come out of the company. And that's why the share price has recovered from 85 cents to a current share price of $1.18. And even though it does look like the sentiment might be shifting, the share price is still in a downtrend because the 2 shorter moving averages, the 10 and the 20-day moving averages, are still below the longer term moving average, which is that black line, which is still above those other 2 moving averages. So ideally, for this company to be in a new uptrend, and if that new uptrend does coincide with a shift in sentiment, that would be a sign that the company's share price is willing to move forward. So what I'd like to see in the new trading week next week, from when I'm doing this video, is the share price to either consolidate around $1.20 or pull back towards $1.06, but maintain above, or being above, that longer term moving average, which is the 50-day moving average. That is all I have on this June quarter Appendix 4C video for Betmakers. If you do have any more information on this company that you'd like to share with us or me, I'd love to hear your opinion, particularly if your opinion is different than mine, because that's how we learn in the long run, is to be willing to accept different opinions than our own. I'm not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.